Hey everyone, Adam here. So in this video, I wanted to do a quick review / talk about the Nintendo Switch. Now, I fully admit, I know I am late to the party. Everyone probably already has a Nintendo Switch or a Switch Lite, or you've probably already seen reviews on it. So I will admit this is not going to be a super in-depth review. I'll talk about some of the pros and cons and stuff that I like, but I just wanted to talk about mobile gaming in general and kind of where I think a lot of these things might be heading, and just to have a kind of more of a, I guess, a general discussion. But when I have this general discussion, of course, I will be talking about some of the pros and cons, and there will be some review type ideas thrown into this video. So with that, let's jump right into it and get started. I think the first place to start is kind of define what kind of gamer I am. Now, I have used game consoles in the past. I used to have an Xbox 360 back in the day, along with a PlayStation 3. And I'm guessing about maybe 7 years ago, I pretty much migrated to PC gaming only. I usually use GOG or I'll use Steam. And most of my game library is in fact on the Steam application. Now, I have chosen PC gaming for a variety of reasons. Mostly that's where my friends are, so there's no need for a console. 2, it kind of goes with the whole minimalistic theme. I can have one device that kind of does it all. And 3, because of the Steam library, a lot of the games that I want to play are pretty much on that platform. I mean, there are a few exclusives on some of the gaming consoles these days, but it's not nearly as prevalent as it once was. Basically, a game developer will release a game for pretty much everything these days. So because I've been pretty much using PC gaming for the last 7+ years as my primary source of gaming, there are a couple of downsides that got me looking at the Nintendo Switch. And the main thing is just portability. I use a computer for my job, and when I have like an 8 or a 10-hour day in front of the computer, sometimes the last thing I want to do is sit in front of a computer, even if it is for gaming. The other thing is, since I have kids, I may get interrupted with kid-type duties. So, for example, my youngest may come up to me and say, "Hey, Dad, I'm watching PJ Masks. Will you sit with me?" And I enjoy sitting with him, but the last thing I want to do is watch PJ Masks. And so I enjoy the sitting part, but I could be doing something else. So most of the time I'll be on my phone, which I don't feel like I'm getting that much enjoyment out of it, or maybe I'll be on my laptop. So because of that, that really kind of sparked my interest in trying to find a mobile solution. And the only thing at that time, about a year and a half, 2 years ago, when I picked up the Nintendo Switch for myself, was basically the Nintendo Switch. I am optimistic because Nintendo has had such huge success. Steam is releasing their own portable system called the Steam Deck, which I pre-ordered. So had the Steam Deck existed like 2 years ago, when I was kind of in the market and really wanted to have a solution for this, I probably would have just picked up the Steam Deck first. Now, there are some other solutions, portable PC type consoles that are kind of making their way into the market these days, but those are very, very expensive. So let's start talking about the Nintendo Switch. Now, here is my Nintendo Switch, and then I also brought for this video, brought my son's Nintendo Switch Lite. So this is his. And he uses it to game with his buddy. They'll play a lot of Minecraft. Actually, it's his cousin. They'll play a lot of Minecraft on it and a couple other games. And so for that, it's been fantastic for my son, the Nintendo Switch Lite. And when I was in the market for a Switch, I had a hard time deciding, do I go with the Switch or the Switch Lite? At the time of this recording, the Switch is around $300 and the Switch Lite is around $200. And so the Switch Lite does not allow you to hook it up to a TV. I'm pretty sure it has that capability. It's just that my suspicion is, not proven, my suspicion is Nintendo has purposefully disabled that, so you have to pay the premium or the extra $100 to get the Nintendo Switch. That's just my guess. So unfortunately, the Switch Lite, you can't hook up to a TV. And I think the Switch For version 2, when they first came out, the very first iteration of the Nintendo Switch, I think got like 2 or 4 hours of battery life on portability mode. At some point, they released a new second version with either a better battery or a better graphics card that handled power consumption much better. And so that version, which is the version I have, has much better battery life. So I get around 6 hours in portable mode. The Switch Lite, best I can tell, is around the same, I think. Supposedly it's a little bit less, but as far as my son and his gaming is concerned, I haven't really noticed a huge hit. So if you want the maximum potential battery life, it's probably the Switch. If you want really good portability, I really like the form factor of this Switch Lite. It's $100 cheaper. Like I said, it's $200. And if I was traveling like every single day, like on an airplane or on a bus or something, I mean, this thing is super light, super great for traveling. You can just throw it in a book bag. It's great. The Switch, on the other hand, although it's good for traveling and stuff, it's just not nearly as good, I think, as the Switch Lite. It's got a slightly bigger screen, feels a lot heavier, feels a little bit more clunky if I were to travel every day. Now, if you're just going to use this on the couch or on the bed in portable mode, the Nintendo Switch is perfectly fine for that. If you are or need to hook up to a TV, you have to go with the Nintendo Switch. You don't really have another option within the Nintendo ecosystem. The big con with the Nintendo ecosystem is that the Nintendo eShop store is terrible. Like, it's really hard to navigate. It doesn't give you any reviews. It's not. I've gotten spoiled with Steam and how Steam handles their shop. And yeah, Nintendo eShop, just personally, I don't think it's that great. The other major issue is some of the DRM stuff is not in favor of you as the consumer. So what do I mean by that? If for whatever reason you wanted to have 2 Nintendo Switches, right? Like, let's say I owned both of these. Well, I do own both of these, but let's say I personally wanted both of these in my possession to use, right? This one was always going to be hooked to my TV, and this one was always going to be for portability mode, meaning I'm only going to use this when I travel. Let's say I'm traveling all the time. It's a little bit counterintuitive, but you would have to make this the primary on your Nintendo Switch account. And the reason you do that is you can only pick one Nintendo Switch, even if you own multiple, that allows you to play your downloaded games without a Wi-Fi connection. So if I wanted to travel with this, whatever one you want to travel with is the one you have to make primary. Again, assuming you're not going to have a Wi-Fi connection. So it's a little not intuitive. It would be nice if, I don't know, if Nintendo allowed you to maybe go in offline mode on both systems. You know, maybe you have the primary one, which I guess I understand, but maybe you can go in offline mode without an internet connection for a week or something. I don't know. Just something that allows the whole, like, to not penalize you if you have 2 Nintendo Switches under your account. So that's one major downside. One of the other downsides that I think is worth noting is these things are not that powerful, especially compared to like the latest generation consoles, such as the PlayStation or an Xbox, or even a PC for that matter. But I'm okay with that. I think they're good enough for what they are, but it's definitely not bleeding edge. So if you're playing, like, for example, The Witcher 3, it's not going to be, it's tolerable, it's okay, but the experience is not going to be even close if you're playing on a different platform. So that's just something to keep in mind. If you're always going to play on your couch and you don't mind spending an extra $200 or $300, maybe a Xbox or a PlayStation would be more for you. So as I said, I pre-ordered the Steam Deck. I'm super excited for that to be released, hopefully in 2022. By the time as I'm recording this video, Obviously, I do not have the Steam Deck in my hand. Based on the size spec, how big it looks, and how I suspect it's going to feel, I would still guess that if you are traveling a lot, meaning you just want to throw something in your book bag and you're traveling daily, either on an airplane or a bus or a train or something, and you want portable gaming, I still think the Switch Lite may be the best way to go, because the Steam Deck looks even potentially bigger than this or heavier than this. If you're just migrating from the couch to your bed, that size I think is perfectly fine, very acceptable. I'm fine with that. But if you're looking, like I said, to travel a lot and you want something a little bit lighter, a little bit more nimble, both the Switch and the Steam Deck, I think, are a disadvantage compared to this device here. I think this is the best one for traveling. Others may disagree with me because I think some people don't mind traveling with their regular Switch anyway for the bigger screen. But again, I just find this so light and just so awesome to travel with. Oh, and I should mention the big downside with this, with not being able to hook up to a TV, is that the joysticks are connected to the actual unit itself. And the reason that's a downside is Nintendo is notorious, apparently. I have not experienced this yet. I'm waiting for it. But Nintendo is notorious for what they call stick drift. That's basically where your analog stick it's moving your character when you're not touching it at all. Not sure exactly why this happens. There seems to be a lot of speculation, poor design quality, who knows. It doesn't sound like Nintendo's fixed it. But with the Switch, because these side joysticks are detachable, these Joy-Cons, they're detachable, it's very easy to fix because I would just buy new ones. Now, they are $60 a piece, so it's not like I want to replace them that often because it will get very, very expensive. But with this, if you have the drift, you got to try to either tear it apart or something. And who knows if Nintendo's going to honor the warranty. I don't know. So that's just something to keep in mind. So that may be a potential disadvantage with the Nintendo Switch Lite. So before I wrap it up, I just wanted to mention that Nintendo, again, if you love them or hate them, did a fantastic job finding something that was unique to gaming that didn't exist. So instead of pushing for more pixels and better resolution and graphics like PlayStation and Xbox and even PC gaming tend to go for, this really created a niche of, hey, we're going to have mobile gaming if you want. And then, by the way, if you want to hook it up to a TV very easily, you can do that as well. And just that concept alone paid off huge for Nintendo. Now, my prediction is they're going to have tons and tons of competition now because, one, Nintendo proved that that's a very successful business model. And two, the technology is coming now to PC gaming where you can, I don't know if Nintendo's quite kept up with what they can put, I feel like they could have upgraded their system to make it a little bit more powerful and still be this compact. And I feel that PC makers in particular are going to be pushing that envelope, such as the Steam Deck. So Nintendo's going to have a lot of competition. Be curious to see what happens to Nintendo, how they respond to all of this. But in the end, I'm super glad that Nintendo, again, if you love them or hate them, has at least push the envelope for mobile gaming, and not in a cell phone type way. I much prefer this kind of gaming than gaming on my cell phone. I've got access to a lot better games than compared to my cell phone. So that's pretty much it. Thank you, Nintendo, for kind of creating a mobile gaming market, and looking forward to seeing what the competition will bring in this arena as far as hardware goes. All right, that is it. I'm going to wrap it up here. I've rambled on way longer than I anticipated. As always, hopefully you found this video helpful, and thanks for watching.